Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here today at my Micro Summit, Healing the Wounds from Childhood Bullying. And my guest today is Heather Gunther. She is a transformational speaker, workshop, and retreat leader. Heather is known for her ability to translate complex, cutting-edge research into accessible and relatable stories and skills at the intersections of spiritual development, interpersonal neurobiology, and human potential. Whether she is speaking, training, or facilitating, Heather is beloved by audiences because of her unique speaking style, heart-opening storytelling, and ability to unlock deep, lasting healing for her audiences. Welcome, Heather.
Cindy, it's nice to be here.
I love having you here today. And you are in Boulder, Colorado, correct?
I am, yeah.
I've been in Colorado once. Beautiful, beautiful place. I love it. Lots of greenery, lots of mountains, lots of things to do. And I have a sister in Denver too, so that's a place in my heart. Well, our topic today is about what we get wrong about trauma and the 5 nervous system tools to transmute it. So first of all, you speak about trauma unconventionally. How is what you're talking about different from what our audience might think? And how does it relate to bullying?
Absolutely. So there's this misperception, I think, that trauma is this big incident that might happen. It could be a hurricane or rape or some other big tragedy. And yes, those can be traumatic, and I would call those big T traumas. But what I have found, so I'm also a psychotherapist, and I work with kids as young as 18 months, all the way through adolescence, and then I do coaching more with adults. But in my practice, what I found is, having worked with so many kids who've been exposed to sexual abuse and disaster and things like that, the big T trauma actually integrates, it gets healed, it gets transmuted a lot faster than the pervasive disconnect that happens in relationship. And so I think what I have found in my practice is that everyone has trauma, and that it's actually the little T trauma that causes us to get hung up and to get exhausted. And we're like, why am I so tired all the time? And to feel overwhelmed, like, it feels like everybody else is doing fine. Why can't I handle this? And it's because of the accumulation of the little T trauma that happens in our body. So I want to give a new definition so that we can start from there, which is that trauma, when we talk about it biologically speaking, is simply any sensation, any emotion, and any thought that we haven't made sense of yet, that's unintegrated. And when you think about it from that, it's like, whoa, I have a lot of things that are unintegrated. So on one hand, it's like, there's a lot going on here. But on the other hand, there's also, I find, some freedom, right? Because if we can go, we all have trauma, it affects all of us, and it's just these unintegrated parts, it feels more accessible. Like we can make a change, we can impact ourselves and make a difference, versus you have trauma. Which just feels kind of overwhelming. And so when we think about bullying, and I think about, all of you who are listening and watching this, you may not have felt like you experienced a big T trauma. And yet the experience you had with somebody else, that was relational trauma, right? That impacted your body, it impacted your soul, it impacted you. And then it impacted how you look at other people and how you look at the world and you look at yourself.
Wow.
Yeah. Big breath for everybody on that one.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Excuse me. Okay, so what's the impact of adverse childhood experiences on your health, wealth, and relationships? And what can our audience do to repair the effects?
Absolutely. So if we think about these unintegrated traumas that happen during childhood, there was actually a study by Kaiser Permanente and the CDC, so the big insurance company, went, why is it that people get sick? Can we prevent it? Can we do something about it? And so they did this huge study, and they looked at 17,000 people, and they said, okay, we're noticing that in our diet studies that people are losing weight, but after they've lost the weight, so many of them report, I feel really insecure without the weight. I feel really unsafe without my weight. I feel really uncomfortable. And when they started asking questions, they realized that a lot of those people had sexual abuse in their childhood that they experienced. And Kaiser went, well, if sexual abuse is tied to obesity and weight gain, what else is tied to our health? And so they asked 10 questions about whether people had been, their parents had been divorced, if they'd lost a parent, if there was substance abuse in the house, and other questions. And what they found was that the more you answered yes on these 10 questions, the higher the chances that you had cardiovascular disease, COPD, mental illness, substance abuse, and all sorts of like immune system stuff, chronic fatigue, that it's all tied to adverse experiences in childhood. So people who are listening, you've already identified that you felt bullied. Chances are you might have some of these other ACEs that are impacting your health. And further research has showed us that when we are impacted by feeling like we're not good enough, or that there's not enough support, that also impacts our finances. So it's called scarcity. And what they found is that when you perceive that you don't have enough of something, you lose 14 IQ points, which is like missing an entire night's sleep. So it has a really big impact on like you being able to take care of yourself. So you are struggling to take care of yourself, not because there's something wrong with you, not because you're doing anything wrong. It's because your biology is so exhausted from these unintegrated childhood traumas that it's making it so you can't think straight. You can't actually have the energy to do the things you want to do in the world. Oh,
Wow.
no. Whew. But there's hope.
Yes, great. Yeah,
So
that's good to know.
hearing that, wow, I had to take a breath because it's heavy. That's a heavy feeling to go, oh my gosh, all of these things are impacting me. What do I do about it? And so I created a 5-step process I call the AWARE process, because we can actually integrate these traumas, and we can do them in as little as 60 seconds once we have some practice and we know what we're doing. And so I was hoping that maybe, Cindy, I could lead you through it so that our audience could get a feel for it and they could, try it on for themselves too. Would you be up for that?
That would be wonderful. Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Absolutely. So anybody who's listening at home, you can go along the 5 steps with us, and I'm going to walk you through it. So Cindy, can you think of something, maybe an incidence of bullying? Maybe if that doesn't feel safe, it could be something that felt incongruent in the past week that is more than a 2, but less than a 7, right? So not the biggest, baddest thing that's ever happened, but somewhere in the middle.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And what's your number on the scale of 10 being like so hard and 0 being like I'm neutral?
I would say 7,
Okay.
7, 8.
Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do is the A. So it's an acronym. So A in the AWARE process is accept. Now the acceptance is not accepting that it was okay for someone to do this to you. The acceptance is that this is what you're feeling right now, right? So being able to accept, okay, my body's activated right now, right? Accept where you are, what's going on in your physiology, what's going on in your mind, and being like, okay, I accept this is where I am. So Carl Jung said that I got a little tongue-tied there.
It happens.
What we resist persists, right? And so when we can accept what we're experiencing, we turn down the resistance to being able to heal. Okay. So feeling into what's going on for you. The next thing we're going to do is W, which is wiggle. So I said I work with kids. Kids are great examples of letting our bodies move through things.
Okay.
So if you feel into your body as you're thinking about this big moment, what does your body want to do right now?
Run and hide.
Yep. So can we put some energy in your feet? Would you be open to maybe stomping your feet or even just jumping your toes?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm moving my feet.
Yeah. So Peter Levine is a trauma researcher, and what he found is that all mammals, when we experience trauma, and I'm going to give you the animal version first, like a gazelle who's running away from the lion, right? They're like, holy crap, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. You've got all these stress hormones flooding your system, right? And when the gazelle escapes the lion, afterwards, the first thing they do you know what the first thing that they do is?
Oh, okay.
They
No,
shake,
they shake.
right? Have you ever seen an animal or a cat do something and then they're like, and they shake it out?
Yes.
Yes. All mammals, our bodies are designed to shake because what it does is it releases the stress hormones so that they can be reabsorbed rather than recycled. And we know that the recycling of stress hormones actually damages our hippocampus, which is the part of the brain that says, hey, we're safe, it's all good here. So we want to wiggle and let our body do what it didn't get to do. So we can reabsorb those stress hormones. Okay. So we've
Feels
got
good.
accepting where we are, wiggling, giving ourselves some movement. And then the next A is to articulate. Now, when we articulate, you can do it in your head or you can do it out loud. It doesn't matter. But what the research tells us is that when we name our sensations, so those things that happen in our body, and when we name our emotions, that the electrical impulses move from the reactive child brain up into our prefrontal cortex. And so this part of the brain is our adult brain. It's the part that lets us live on purpose and feel engaged and like in that flow state where you're just like, yeah, this feels good, right? And like we can think about solutions. That's our adult brain. Our kiddo brain is the part that goes, we're gonna die. Things are bad. Run away. Shut down. But when we name our sensations and emotions, we move out of that reactive child brain and into our responsive adult brain. So Cindy, would you be willing to take a moment, and you can either say it out loud or in your head, an emotion or sensation that you're aware of?
Okay. Shyness.
Yeah. Got it. And now we get to repair. Right? So we get hurt in relationship, right? Because there wasn't somebody to say, I got you, right? I love you. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to help you through this, right? And we didn't know how to do it for ourselves. So now we can actually repair with the part that feels that's experiencing the trauma and heal that by doing what we never got. So I'm going to give you an example. And if you're willing, you can kind of go along with me and you can find your own way to do it. And you don't have to say it out loud if you don't want to.
Okay.
So I tend to start with, I love you, Heather. And I don't know why, but my hands tend to just grab onto my arms and I tend to squeeze them down. I call it the bilateral hug squeeze. It's a very awkward name. But what it does is it squeezes the chemistry down to my hands where I can shake it out. And it also lets me kind of hold on to myself and go, I got this.
Okay.
Yeah. So I love you.
I'll do that. Try to keep my arms away from the mic. So I apologize. So it's like I'm giving myself a hug.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And I'm so sorry that this happened to you.
I'm so sorry this has happened to you.
And I'm sorry that I didn't know how to help myself.
And I'm sorry that I didn't know how to help myself.
I'm here now.
I'm here now.
I'm not going to run away from it this time.
I'm not going to run away from it this time.
I can feel this and be okay.
I can feel this and be okay.
big enough now.
I'm big enough now.
I'm capable enough now.
I'm capable enough now.
I can help me through this.
I can help me through this.
I'm not going anywhere. I got me.
Going anywhere, I've got this.
How you doing, Cindy?
Good.
And so this repair piece is really, it's like you're mothering yourself. Right? You're fathering yourself the way you didn't get it. And I say that for all of us. There are always moments, even, you know, if we had parents who showed up for us, they weren't always there, right?
Right.
And what we know is that it's not about parents showing up all the time. It's about caregivers repairing when they don't show up, repairing when they hurt us, repairing when they had an impact, right? And we often didn't get that in our families. We often didn't get it from the people we looked to help repair when things exploded, right? When there was a rupture, when there was a disconnect. And so this is an opportunity for us to go back and do what we never got. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And then the last stage is E. So that's engage. So it's one thing for us to feel our feelings and to give ourselves what we never got in repair. But the next step is to be in the world, because that's what all of us want, right? We want to be able to show up as our best selves in the world. So in that moment, so Cindy, when you check into your body, when you check into yourself, how would you like to engage? And it could be making contact with someone, like eye contact with someone you love. It might be going and taking a bubble bath. It could be going for a walk. What is your body asking of you?
Taking my little dog for a walk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Getting out in nature.
Yep. So maybe you'll give me 10 more minutes and then you'll be able to go take that walk with your little puppy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a beautiful process. So, excuse me. So there are two thoughts that came to my mind when we started was I thought of my father, because there were times that when he got mad at me and would really yell, it was scary.
Wow.
And so I was afraid of him.
Yeah.
And another thought that popped in was my first grade teacher. Back in my days, and people who are my age will understand this, excuse me, teachers back then were bullies. And my first grade teacher, if I didn't pronounce my R's correctly, she would slap my hands with a ruler. And I can remember to this day, you know, it stung. Yeah. And I was embarrassed in front of the class, and I would silently cry because I didn't want to cry out loud and then get in trouble. So, or if I spoke out of turn, or sometimes I got accused of speaking, she would send me out in the hall. So I became fearful of my first grade teacher and just kind of shut down because I was afraid of saying anything or doing anything that would get me into trouble.
Yeah. So as you were working on one thing, another trauma popped up because it wanted to be integrated at the same time.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and see, I was afraid to tell my parents too, because I was afraid I would get in trouble for it. And I could hear my mother saying, well, what are you doing wrong? You must be doing something wrong or you wouldn't get in trouble. So, you know, we just don't understand these things. So I didn't know how to communicate. Yeah. So just kept quiet about it. And but this is a beautiful process. So I understand that I don't have to say or share what pops into my mind, what needs to be healed. Yeah. I could do the process without verbally expressing the thought, right?
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
And so Cindy, when you think back to these moments, you said you started as a 7. How are you
Yes.
feeling when you think back on them now?
Oh, I'd say about a 1. Maybe down to 0 because I could laugh about it.
Yeah,
I survived. Yeah, yeah.
you
Just to
got
be able
you.
to flesh
You
that
got
out. Yeah, and value myself.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. So in a
Yeah.
handful of minutes, you went from a 7 to a 1. And you were like, oh,
Yes.
okay, I'm here. And then
Yeah.
your throat was opening up too. You're like, oh, I have a voice. I can talk. I can communicate what was going on in a way I couldn't when I was a kid.
Yes. It's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
And wiggle, wiggle. Well, I have a couple more beautiful questions to ask you.
Of course.
And unless you had any more to say about that.
Well, I just wanted to let the audience know that you went through that so quickly that you might be, what was that, or what was that? What was those pieces? And so, if you're interested, I have a handout for you that you can go and grab. I know a lot of people, a lot of my clients, they'll print it off and put it on the refrigerator or put it at their office at work and just remember what the steps are, because it's kind of like brushing your teeth, right? We all know brushing your teeth is good for you, right? It cleans out the bacteria and it prevents things like heart disease and all sorts of different issues in our body when we brush our teeth every day. And I think of the aware process as the same thing. You know, when you get dysregulated, when something starts to hijack you, it's like emotionally brushing your teeth. You run through the aware process, you integrate it, and then you're like, okay, what's next in my day?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be wonderful. And at the end, I'll mention it too. We'll talk about your free gift. So great. Okay, so how can the listener step out of the trauma cycle and reclaim their vitality and freedom?
Absolutely. So I hope what people are hearing is that when you're starting to get hijacked, for me, right? Like sometimes I get sweaty or I realize my mouth gets dry and I'm like, oops, I'm getting hijacked. I have an opportunity now. And I will walk myself through those 5 steps. Be like, okay, this is what's going on in my body right now. Cool. Yep, I'm a little nauseous. I'm a little fast inside. I'm getting kind of manic. I've got my breath. I can rub my hands. Okay, I know I run away from this sometimes and I don't always stay with myself. I'm sorry, Heather. Okay, I can feel this. I don't need to go anywhere. Okay, what was I doing? Okay, I can do that. That's what I think people can have, you know, and in just any moment be able to go, oh, I'm getting hijacked. Let's run through this and get our power back.
Wow, we could actually do that any place, anytime, where we're in the car sitting,
Yes.
going for a walk. Yeah, I could see myself doing that if I was in the classroom, silently, give myself a hug and say those things.
I teach a lot of teachers to do it. Yeah. I call it the green eggs and ham syndrome, where at first you're like, oh, I can't do this anywhere. Like, oh, this feels uncomfortable. I don't know about that. And then once you get the hang of it, you're like, oh, I can do it in a boat. I can do it with a mouse. I can do it, right? Like, do you know green eggs and ham?
I love that. Yes.
And you realize, oh, I can do this anywhere.
Yeah. It's wonderful. Let's see, your upcoming book is Love Your Messy Life. And how can someone who's experienced bullying love their messy life? And what does that mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's the fantasy that exists in the world that gets projected on social media. You know, you go onto Instagram or Facebook or any of that kind of stuff, and you see like people with their perfect lives. Everything's cultivated and they look amazing. And then you're like, my life doesn't feel like that. And that's how I felt. I was like, my life is messy. I don't know about you, but I want to be able to love my life even when my dog has an accident on the floor. I want to be able to love my life even when I'm sitting in traffic, right? Or even when someone says something really hard to me. I want to be able to stay connected to myself and love even that moment. And that's what I wanted to write about. And so Love Your Messy Life is about having the tools in addition to the aware process, also I have a handful of tools that I've related to actual physical tools, like the hammer of anger and the screwdriver of mindfulness, and different tools that my father gave me. Anytime that I would go out in the world, my father would kind of disappear, and then he'd show up with a custom toolbox for that activity that I was going to go off and do in my life, whether it was getting my first car or getting my first house. And so I wanted to relate these tools that he had given me with the psychological, emotional, and physical tools that we need to be able to renovate our lives, renovate the house that is our body, and actually love what we've got rather than trying to make it different or judge it or change it. That we can actually feel good within even the mess. Because what I want is more playfulness in my life, right? I want to be able to walk through a puddle and be like, yes, and jump in it, right? Like,
Yes.
I want to see messiness as opportunities to have fun. I'm too serious sometimes, and I think maybe you can understand that too. Just we get into the day-to-day of getting stuff done, and we lose the fun of life.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to remind myself a lot that I need to go play.
Yes.
I need to put business aside, and you have to balance business and family and personal stuff. Yeah, that book sounds amazing. I like the title too.
Thank you.
Okay, so you have an ambitious mission to end human-created trauma in this lifetime. How does this apply to people who've been bullied?
So we have, maybe it's just me, but it feels like there's this perception that everything has to change all at once, right? That we need to change the school system so bullying doesn't happen. We need to change families so that bullying doesn't happen. And those are pretty big organizations and systems to change. And for me, they can feel pretty overwhelming to say, let's end bullying. It's like, where do we start? What do we do about that? And what we know is that when we're having experiences in our body, they can be felt for up to 8 feet away. So if your nervous system is dysregulated, right, like you're getting hijacked from experiences you've had in your childhood, and then you walk into a room, everyone within 8 feet of you can feel that dysregulation in your system, can feel all of that going on for you, right? And have you ever walked into a room and you could feel something? You were like, oh, something's happening here.
Yeah, so the energies felt.
Yeah, and it impacts you, right?
Yeah, okay.
So what if we can actually impact things in the opposite way? That when we can do the aware process, when we can hold on to ourselves and integrate our stuff, we walk into a room and we project out what they call is coherence, right? We project regulation. We project that self-love authentically in our system, and everyone in 8 feet of us feels it and goes, ah, I just like being around you. It feels good to be around you. And we don't have to change the people by teaching them or telling them to do something different. By us being different and mastering our nervous systems, the people around us get a feel for that, and they go, I want more. What's different about you? Because this feels really good. And you go, here's the aware process, right? You can have this too. And so I believe that we can end human-created trauma, which is all of those moments where something felt dysregulating, something was hard for us, and we're like, I don't know what to do with this. And we throw it to somebody else, like a really awful game of hot potato, right? Yeah. And then someone's like, I don't know what to do with this. And they throw it onto somebody else, right? And then we're all hurting each other. We don't mean to, we just don't know what else to do. But when someone throws something at you, you get to go, oh, that impacted me, right? And you run through the stages. It's like dropping the hot potato. And then you also create a safe environment for yourself and the people around you. And so this work happens one nervous system at a time, one person at a time, I think is how we are going to change globally.
Yeah, wow. I like that. That really is amazing. And I like what you said about mastering our nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
mastering our feelings
Mm-hmm.
and projecting the right feelings, so that others can feel good also.
Yeah.
I love your aware process. and the opportunity that you're giving others and helping others around the world heal and use this process. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm sure they thank you. Yeah. Let's see. So tell us, well, I just want to remind everybody that to receive your free gift, just below your video, they're going to click on the link that says receive free gift. Yeah. And they're going to take, that will take them to your page where you are offering the aware process cheat sheet or handout. Mm-hmm. And it shows, there's a video also. Yes. Correct, demonstrating it.
Absolutely. Yeah, so when you click on that link, you'll get a copy of the aware process. And then, at least for me, I don't really get things the first or second time I hear it. So I need to see it in lots of different ways. So you'll get a handout so you can actually see it in the brain form, and you'll see the words and you're like, oh, I see what this looks like. You'll also get a video of me teaching other people at a conference where I was speaking. And so you'll get to see 3 people run through it. And then I also send you emails that walk you through, like, okay, let's really talk about this acceptance thing. Let's really talk about this wiggle thing. And it's full of research and stories. That way you can go, this is starting to make sense, right? Because I have to hear things a bunch of different ways before it lands for me. So I figure maybe other people might feel that way too.
Yes. Yeah. I do. I definitely do. Well, thank you, Heather. Absolutely. And thank you for the beautiful advice that you've given us. Yeah, that it's like the time went by real quickly. It's like, wait, no, I'm just getting started. I can speak for another hour, go on and on. I love the process. Love you and what you do. Thank you so much. And remember, everyone, to click on our link for that free gift, and much gratitude and so much. Is there anything you'd like to share with anyone just to close it up?
Just because you've struggled doesn't mean you're broken. It actually, when you mine that pain, you will find your purpose. You'll find how it's contributed to your life. And so I hope that as you spend time with all of the people who are speaking, and you mine that you are able to find that purpose for yourself, that connection to yourself, because there's nothing wrong with you, even though this happened. Yeah.
It's beautiful. Thank you.
Thanks, Cindy, for offering this.
You are very welcome. Blessings to you and for everyone who's watching the video. Wish you love, peace, and happiness. Bye for now.